We're on Samach Gimel Amud Aleph 63a, a couple of lines from the top. The Gemara before I've spoken about the mitzvah of. Did it speak about Puruvu? Yeah, so subject is Puruvu. And marriage, and the Gemara continues now. So it says fourth Amr Bulaza. Amr Bulaza, Kol Adam She'enu Ish Einu Adam. That a basic makeup of man is that he should be with a woman. If a man doesn't have a woman, so then he's not a complete man. Hashem created man, created them, male and female, and he called them man. So the fact that it says he called them man, that means that a person is only called man when he has a husband and wife. Alone, he's not called a complete man. Similarly, in order to be a man also, is necessary to own land. If a person doesn't own land, he's not yet a full man. The heavens is to God, and the land he gave to man. So again, the fact that it says he gave land to man, that means without that, he's not called man. That came in as this over here. The point about the land going now mostly about marriage. More through nothing also about Adam, but also of course supposed to answer the pasuk says when it talks about making Chava, Hashem made the first woman. So it says they made for man Ezer Kenegdo. So Pashta means a helper, corresponding to him, corresponding with him. Okay, we got knocked off for a minute. Hope that we're back on again. So here we go. So the text says kinigdo with the yud. I don't know what that's supposed to mean because the Gemara is going to say right away. Nagda is that 4 lashes. So I think that the way we read the Gemara is that it says kinagdo means if you read the text without any vowel, you read kinagdo, but we read it kinegdo. Kinagdo, kinegdo. That she's opposite and not opposite, but corresponding. But lo zachad minag is going to be a lashing. The Gemara brings a side point, which is not. It's a point of marriage. What? You don't have, then it wouldn't put a yud. There's no yud, and the Gemara is putting in the yud as what they call how to pronounce it. Usually the yud would mean kenigdo. Usually it stands for a chid, but that doesn't fit over here. I'd like to still stay out the other gersos. Gemara brings a point over here. Rabbi Yossi Elio. Rabbi Yossi, the Tana, he met Eliyahu Hanavi. He's going back in the pasuk that says, "I make for man a help." In what way is a woman a help for a man? But in what way does a woman help Amalei? So Eliyahu Hanavi told him, "Chitin koses and pishtan lovish." Lanim says, "A person in the field wheat. Can he eat wheat? He brings from the field flax. Where flax? She has to develop it into bread, develop it into clothes. Does she not illuminate his eyes and stand them on his feet? That alone is half a job. The man only can bring the raw material, but the woman has to help it. So that's the partnership between the husband and wife, that he brings the raw material and she develops it. So that's the Ezer. Adam to man said this time she is a bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. They said the word this time, zit this time, other times. That he had literally it means that relation. Some say surely don't take it literally. Doesn't mean that he had relations with animals. It means that he understood that his is not with the animals, only with women. He didn't have Yishuv but what's the word in Skar Daita? I don't have a translation. He didn't feel only until relations with Chava. So it means that man is fitting for woman only and not for any other creation in the world. This already should be a wrong line over here. I meant to make the a bit up. They're going to go into a so that's tomorrow over here from here. Yeah, and it's going to zoom out a second to see where we're going to go. It's going to bring unrelated subjects. I mean, as you say, we did a little bit, but from here to here, a big Gemara is going to be not subject we're going to get back to Hazran towards the bottom of the page. Now we're going to have other coming by the way. So we just mentioned the pasuk about we're doing Rabbi Loza, like this page. We're having a lot of, if you noticed, a lot of these statements were, and this was a similar over here of the Rabbi Loza. So we're getting off the tangent of the subject a little bit. Other things Rabbi Loza said that are not much the subject. In you. So the Gemara says a drash on the wood, but the Gemara also says it means brecha. Brecha havracha is a kind of a grafting. When you plant, you take the branch and you put it into the earth and it goes more. So Hashem says, like out of you, a graft out of you, the nations. What does that mean? That there are two Gerim that are going to graft on Israel, and that's what's Tova from the Mishpachos Adama. There's going to come also converts that are going to be considered a Brecha Tova. Brecha Tova is like a good grafting, and that is Shlomo married Nama, and she also came into the Jewish nation, and she those Badama in this Baruch Hashem for Israel. That even it's not the question what
Excuse me, Rabbi, you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry for that. So if it's okay, we're holding by Kol Gayei Haaretz, and it's two drushes based on, we came in here because of the pasuk Nivruchu b'cha shtei brechos from Rabbi Elazar, or we're on a tangent, and the tangent goes for those that live very primitively. Kol Gayei Haaretz means even ships. I think Rashi says that kol, the word kol means even if they're not on the land, mamish, like ships, even business that's done not on the land, and also there's going to be bracha even by that. Also, everything that has to do with Am Yisrael, the children of Abraham that you see by nations, even that seems unrelated to Am Yisrael. Two foreign nations that neither one has anything to do with Am Yisrael. Also, their success is because of Yisrael or for the sake of Yisrael. Back to Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar has a whole list of drushes over here. From Rabbi Elazar, Hasidim Kol Bali
Craftsmen, artisans.
Yes, but what about them? That they're going to go a la karka.
The success of the
it doesn't say that. No, here it says Yamdu ala karka, something else. There's another point. Not it means they're going to become farmers. They're going to leave their craftsmen and they're going to become farmers. And it's a mistake here, not al, but el. The Pashtan over there is not talking about this at all. The Pashtan over there is talking about there was a big ship of Tsor and it sunk, and it's a marshal over there in Yecheskel, and it says that all the other ships are going to go off their ships and go down to the ground and mourn, stand on the ground and mourn over that ship. It's actually something else, that all of the ships are going to go off their ships and all the business that they're doing, and they're going to go El Haaretz Yamoda, they're going to stand on the land, means they're going to be engaged in agriculture.
Very good. The first one says Yamdu ala karka. That is correct.
Yes, but then that's not a pasuk. But then the Gemara reads a pasuk. So it says so it seems to say that Rashi says the point is, just to see Rashi over here, they're going to leave their craft in order to be engaged in plowing and harvesting back to the ground.
What's the limit?
Different businesses are going, merchants going on the seafarers, they're going to leave their boats and go to stand on the ground. So of course, the pasuk surely not talking about that, but the Rashi say they're saying be engaged in the ground. 2 points. But now he does not suggest going into agriculture for a living. He says it's not advisable. There's no, it seems like on the level of prestige and being also in agriculture. This person does, it's downgrading from what agriculture is considered downgrading. The Gemara says a couple of I made a different color over here just to show that we're still on the same subject about this main point, that this is called chusa. This is called only chusa. It's considered a lowly kind of a job. But I really don't understand the whole Gemara coming up. I'm not saying what the words are, but I don't think I grasp what the Gemara is saying. So it says Rabbi Elazar came to he saw a certain piece of land. The Shadi Bay Karva, the Fusya. The word Karva sometimes means Rashi has built a piece of land that was plowed by its width, or was planted to its width. Even if they would plant you or plow you to your length, it means if they would utilize you more than they did, difference. But they say maybe to utilize the field in planting is better to use it to its length than to its width. You gain more space. When you do it to its width, it's wasted. But anyway, even if they would utilize you more to your length, which means that they utilize you better, still it would be better to get into some kind of business. Other kind of trading would be more profitable than being engaged in farming. What says another point? Rav Olabeni Shivli, Chazinu the Karnaifan. Rav came amongst Shibolim. That means there were stalks that were growing, and when they wave in the wind, so it makes a lot of rustling sound, and like as if they're coming to show themselves. Here we are, the stalks of wheat. Amalahu, he told them, as if he's addressing them. The first two stories also. In says, as much as you're gonna wave in the wind and show that you're good, but doing business is better. Of course, you have to have food. All the business is not going to help you if you don't know what to eat. But the more saying, as far as a business, it's not considered a profitable business. If you have 100 zuz, 100 dinners to invest in business, so then you'll be able to eat meat and wine every day. But if you're going to have the same amount of money that you're going to invest into farming, they say means some kind of a plant. That's not such a delicacy. This means you're not going to have a lot of money. You're going to be eating very primitive food. And primitive food. And shachas means, I don't know, what? It's animal food, fodder, but it means the grain before it grows, when it grows less than a third, so then they cut it down, they give the wheat plant before it grows into kernels, they give it to animals. So that's what you're going to be end up eating, together with salt, like little spices, but nothing like meat and wine. Not only that, it also lies you down on the floor, and it makes you get into conflict with people. So Rashi says that he has to invest a lot of his time and effort. He has to even sleep over there by the field in order to watch, in order to guard it. So he'll be sleeping outdoors. And also he's going to get into conflict with people. They talk about maybe in the ownership of the land, where the boundary is, things like that. He's going to get, or some say that he's going to be poor, and that's going to get him into fights, whatever the case might be. So all these Gemaras are saying that it's not for making a living. Of course, again, they say for whatever you need for food, you need for food. But in order to make more than you need for food, in order to be able to translate into money, so it's not advisable to go into agriculture. It might depend on the time and the place. Could be today is different. I don't know. Amar Papa, but down Gemara says, but there. Of course, you have to eat that. If you don't eat, even the richest man, if he doesn't have what to eat, he's not gonna. How does it say? If they have gold and silver but no food, it's not worth anything. So of course you have to have food. Here's talking about making a business out of it. To make a business out of it and grow. When the food that you do need, so better to plant your own and not to buy. Whatever you do need for your sustenance, so have your own piece of land, you should be able to plant and cultivate your own food instead of buying it from the market. Even though it might cost the same amount, even if it costs you just as much to buy it as it does to produce it yourself, you don't gain on that, but there's going to be more blessing on what you grew yourself and that what you. Then it goes with other business advice. In the Pashto is saying business advice. If there's something deeper here, I don't know what it is. It could be esoteric, some hints over here. But in the simple words, it's telling you business advice. Savin velo sezo. The question about the translation is over here. Means as far as food, so it's better to grow your own, cultivate your own rather than buy. But when it comes to clothing, so then it's better to buy than to weave your own. Ani mili bistarki avo lima lo misramule. Rashi learns that it means that's talking about other kinds of things that are not clothing. With clothing, do your own personal clothing. But the starki they say means tapet, some kind of carpet or tapestries. But the glima, like the clothing that you wear for yourself, so then you might not find what you're looking for, or you might not. But other things that you have to weave, so buy instead of making it yourself. But what you need for your own clothing, glima is like the overcoat. So then it's better to make your own than to buy it. You might not find what you need. Something like that. Rashi was different. That's what Taisa says now. The Gemara continues. It still is Papa two stuff here. Papa which
the word something before
Miss Ramya, Miss Damen. It might not come to him. Tom velos spitz, shpos velosivnei, shkalos v'binyan mismaskin. So the word she puts in nowadays is a common word that means renovations. But here they get it from maybe Rashi says literally the word sashpitz means to plaster. So Rashi says that try to do as little building as possible. The Gemara suggests try to do as little building as possible. If you have a hole in the wall, So just stuff it up. Don't stuff it up, and don't sashpis. Sashpis means to plaster. It means that you have to dig it out more in order to make it better. It's better not to just fill up the hole and don't try to do better by cutting it down and making it better. And also shvos velosif ne. And if you have to, a choice of two things: better to do that, to do the plastering, than to take down the whole thing and build it again. Because it's not again. I don't know how to apply this. The mindset that applies to nowadays, the more trying to tell us some hint of other words. Jump and buy land. But Mason is said itself. But take your time before you marry a woman. Even though everything looks good, take your time, be deliberate, don't do a fast decision. Nachis Dargan is another issue about marriage, in contrast to something else. Nachis Dargan is a vitza, Sak Darga, Shashvina. When it comes to marry someone that's dignified or whatever it might be. She should be something a bit lower that should look up to you. Or else she might look down on you. Better to get a wife who's one below. But when you want to get a friend, trying to get a friend who's above you, when you want to get a friend, get somebody that's more ideal than yourself, you can learn from him. But by wife, it's good she should look up to you. Honorable Elazar, Bar Rabina. Some take out the word Bar Rabina, and that's why it's going to be Rabbi Elazar, because we had all the Rabbi Elazars the whole time. And before we spoke about the business over there, the second wide line about the success of business merchants is because of Yisrael. Here is the opposite, that punishments to come to the world is also Bishvil Yisrael. Rashi and the Gemara is going to say right away that it means that, for Am Yisrael. Before, it didn't say what the business success was about. Does it also mean that Am Yisrael is going to benefit from it, or it's in the exclusive Am Yisrael? Not clear. But here the Gemara brings a pasuk that says that when the nations suffer, Am Yisrael is posam. I cut down the nations and I devastated their towers and I destroyed their markets. And I said, this will cause you to fear me, and you should take a lesson. So that's what we're supposed to do. When you see other nations are suffering, we're supposed to learn from it ourselves. So that was the end, more or less, of a big tangent that we tried to put in big parentheses to show that it's a tangent. And now we're going back to the subject about marriage and things like that, related subjects. The Gemara says, Rav have a mifta me Rav Chia. Rav was taking leave of Rav Chia. Chia was his uncle, also his Rebbe, and he was taking leave, I guess, to go home. So he gave him a bracha. Hashem should save you, a Rachaman, a merciful one, should save you from something which is more difficult than death. So he asked them, what's worse than death? Something worse than death? So Rav figured it out. He went to the pasuk. It says, so a woman can be moved from such a kind of a woman. I just want to point out, the Gemara is going to be this pasuk a couple of times in this sugya, that a woman can be worse than death. The pasuk doesn't say that. Pasuk is talking about the zona. And the pasuk continues. Ashehi is charomim, bitzodim, a harlot. A harlot is worse than anything. But the Gemara takes the half a pasuk, stops there, and says that a woman can be more bitter than death. And not talking about a zona, talking about one's wife. That there's such a thing as a wife, a woman that's so bad to her husband. More difficult than that. But I'm just pointing out that it's not a pasuk shad, pasuk, it's a drash. The Gemara says a couple of stories. It says Rav had a difficult wife, he had a difficult wife. That's interesting over here. What we just mentioned was Rav that got a bracha from Rav Chia. Rav Chia gave him a bracha. He should save him from a difficult wife, and it happens to be both of them had difficult wives. Rav had become a salvate visit. Rav's wife used to pain him, used to trouble him. And for instance, what was the pain? Whatever he wanted, she gave him something else. He asked for one kind of food, she gave him a different kind of food. Klufchi, they say, means lentils, and chimtzi, I'm not sure. Rashi says chimtzi means what? Any Rashi here? Chimtzi. Rashi just says a kind of a bean. Okay, Rashi also didn't have an exact translation. Not also. Rashi didn't have an exact translation. Whatever he wanted, she made him something else. That's the conscience. Why did she make anything? Why did she? No, that means more lashon of chometz, things in vinegar, things that are pickled. But here Rashi says it's kind of a kitnius, kind of a different being. So what happened? Klufki meaning. Rashi says in kitnius. So ki gadol chia brei apichla, when his son Chia bar Rav, when Rav's son got older and he would be the messenger of what Rav wanted, so he did a trick. Rav asked for A, he told his mother that he wants B, and then she made him A, and he got what he wanted. So Rav was very impressed. Rav didn't know that his son had done this trick. Your mother improved. The fact that he asked for A and he got A, so she thought that his wife, which was Chia bar Rav's mother, improved. So he said, not exactly. I was the one who said the opposite. You asked for A, I said B, so she made you A, but I was the one who did it. So he said, first he was impressed with the wisdom of his son. Is going to teach you something. That sometimes your children are smarter than you, and they tell you something. So it's a nice idea, but don't. It means it's not good, even if really you are entitled. You don't have, but it's not good to become regular, to become used to lying. You lie in this situation, you lie in other situations. So even though it might not be technically yasa, because she doesn't have a right to do different than her husband is asking her for, but still, you're
Just wanted to mention
fooling
that
her, and it's not a good successful in the seed. No story about Rav.
Rebbe, we don't have good connection, I guess. Okay.
No. Here it is. Just to the Malfuk is to teach you. Like so he was going to teach you. No, like yes, please. Maybe
Oh, we don't have such a good connection. I was just going to say, when you asked if why did she make him anything? If she made the opposite, that's more insidious. That's more. If she didn't do anything, then he would, okay, she's not going to help me. But if she went ahead and did exactly what he didn't want, it's more of a tsar for him.
Okay, yes, thank you.
I don't understand.
It's what don't you understand? Oh no, it's not. Before I threw out a question, how come she wanted to bother her? She shouldn't have made supper at all. So he said, no, it's make dafka. Okay, one line up from the bottom. Yeah, 3 lines up about Rav Chia's wife. This was about Rav's wife. Rav Chia's this also his wife was bothersome to him. You have a mashkach midi when he'd find something that you would like, he would bring it home for her. He would put it into his pocket. He would take trouble to bring her.
He made like he wrapped it as a present.
Could be okay, but he would bring her whatever. He would bring her something to make her happy. Rav with the nephew, he said, like, does she deserve all these presents? Like she does you trouble. It's enough means we have enough. We have to appreciate the fact that she raises my children and that she saves me from sin. The fact that a man is married, so he's more protected than if he's not. So even though she has a lot of problems, that she does me a lot of problems, but the fact these 2 things I appreciate, and I show her appreciation for that she does. The word was also a story about Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda also had a difficult wife. I find women to be more evil than death. Again, I said the Pashup Shad is talking about a harlot, but the Gemara Zashin also his son asked the father like who? He told him like your mother. He was telling him that his mother, the mother, that's the case. He knew his mother, that his mother was a very difficult wife to his father. And he also said compliments about his wife. But Masni le Rav Yehuda Rav Chitzak Grey, and the Motzi calls Ruach Elam Mishnah. It says another chazal that a person only finds satisfaction from his first wife. Like it says, your source should be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. That means the first wife. So he said, asked his father, Rav Yehuda, probably like he's an example of such a good wife. He said, your mother. So it says a second ago his mother was more bitter than death. And here it says that his a Koas Ruach, his wife. So was she a good wife or not? The Gemara answers, Maskif tkifa u'mi'ava b'mila. She would get angry easily, it seems, but she also would calm down easily. Also, like the Gemara, Mishnah has another. We had Noach lichos and Noach litzos. So here the Gemara seems to say that she had both. Like it was like Noach
Quick
litzos,
to
Noach
anger and
lichos.
quick to be
Yeah,
king.
and
Which is
he says
nice.
there's a good thing and a bad thing. So doesn't we had a question which one is preferable. We still don't see in the Gemara which one is preferable. But he said that she has a mother, she has a chisaron. She gets angry, but she also is able to what's the word? To calm down.
Well, I didn't give my examples till now. You had 2 examples.
It has some examples, but so it could be the Gemara now is going to something else. I'm not sure. The Mepharshim we talk about, the Gemara will talk about a table. It's a neat literal table. Sometimes it's even advisable to divorce a wife who acts in a bad way. So the Gemara starts 2 lines before. It's what is the Hagdara? What's the definition? So literally, the word taka means a table, and Makashtim has meal, but during the meal, she's giving it a Gehenna with her words.
So here's a question: is this considered acceptable? Manhaga in Knesset Israel, because it seems to be
No, it says it's very bad. It says each word.
no, not the bad one, but the ones before, all the trouble, the bothersome ones.
Yeah, what about that?
No, it seems to be like this is like a common.
No, it doesn't say it's common. This is a bad problem.
It's
It has a few examples of Amarim that had bad wives. It doesn't mean everybody had a
But
bad
I
wife.
want to,
These are the exceptions.
the 2 Gemaras before them, they said they were mitzvah them. Doesn't mean that they were totally bad. They had some-
Maybe it's not called this Isha over here. It's not an issue. So far it says here like cheating, whatever it might be. Others learn that this table here is a lesson that's referring to marital relations. It means that she would have marital relations and make herself beautiful and get him excited, but then she would start talking, and that made him sick. She decorates adorns the table and she turns her back on him. So again, if it means literal, it means that she makes a nice meal, but she doesn't want to eat with him. And the other shot would say that she gets ready for it, and it bothers him even more. Again, and a side point, we're going to get back to this issue in a second, but he said when a person marries, so then he's protected from evil thoughts. There's a drash over the Pashup Shat means the person finds a wife, he finds good, and he extracts, he extracts favor from Hashem, the fact that he has a good wife. But the Gemara is actually the spark again, and it means that the sins get stuffed up by having a wife. The Gemara continues, 3rd line. The Morav Kinasa finished. It's Amrilei Hachi, Matzah al Motza. In the Eretz Yisrael, the minute was when someone got married, they would tell him Matzah al Motza. What's that referring to? 2 psukim. One pasuk talks about a good wife, one pasuk talks about a bad wife. As if to say, well, what did you get? Matzah d'chsev, Matzah isha, Matzah tov. A good wife. The word Matzah is referring to finding a good wife. And Motza d'chsev, Motza nimam imava says isha. The pasuk in Koheles that says, maybe they're both in Koheles. I forgot what the pasuk of Matzah isha, Matzah tov is. Also, one is Mishnah, I think in Koheles. So I saw that the Mepharshim asked the Kasha, how could they talk about they just got married? They're right away telling him you have a good
I
wife.
hear so often that you have this somebody drushes on this
Matzah. So I think that they're saying a wife. She also should hear that such thing is a good wife, such thing is a bad wife, and but not that they're asking, is she? What is she? No, they ask the husband, what do you say? After, that's not the pshat. But they're saying that a wife could be one of those.
I can hear more on that. He appreciates it, like a mitzvah. So then it'll be good. But if you look at a mitzvah, you don't appreciate it, then it won't be good.
What's it means like it's a one-time thing?
You just got it and you don't appreciate it anymore, then it won't work out.
Okay, so the Chara is a job of both of the wife and the husband. They should invest in the marriage. Marriage takes a lot of investment, then it should become a, how do you say, ever lived happily ever after.
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Miller says that sentence is the biggest lie. You know, that they lived happily ever after. But they eloped, everything was good. And then after that, the next day, so it doesn't go like that. Yes, please.
The connection is not really
Hey,
good.
Marco?
Yes, I'm sorry, the connection is not really good and I couldn't come in today.
I don't know what I can do.
Okay, you were asking why when someone just gets married, why would they ask matzah motza? And then Chaim David started talking. I didn't hear an answer.
Go ahead.
So what was the answer? Why would someone when he's just getting married? Why would they ask umotza? Maybe you found when you found something bad.
Right. I think right. So I don't think they're asking him a question. I don't think they're asking him a question. They're just explaining that marriage can be one of the two directions and make sure you take it in the right direction. They're not telling him about his personal wife. They're not asking him questions. I think that's Pashup Shah.
Mukashta means what?
Mukashta means to adorn.
Adorn, right. What did he say? She adorns herself and then she turns it back on it?
Yeah, that's the first white line of the Rova. Mahadra means to turn it back. Amma Rava. This is what? Fifth white line. Amma Rava. Isha mitzvah is like what's called Isha. I mean, the Gemara did say before, maybe that's what's defining this Gemara. It's a little strange that first the Gemara said, what is it? But then it says Isha mitzvah l'garsha. I'm not sure. But here the Gemara says there is a kind of a wife that's a mitzvah to divorce in order to stop all the bickering. The drive out the maker, and the more seems to be dashing that the modon, the one who's bickering, the one who's fighting, should leave, and then it's going to stop all the kinds of machlokes and shame that if a person is constantly bringing in fights, so then it's a mitzvah to stop it. Very much money. That's what the ksuba, and sometimes people have a big ksuba, and they can't afford to divorce it because it doesn't have so much money. So now he's stuck. So the answer is, has answer for that. So Rosh Hashanah, bring a co-wife, and that'll help fix, get her act together. People say that the saying goes that the way to fix up a wife is with another wife, more than with a silta. Silta is like a coast, like with a thorn, some kind of punishment. That's the best way to fix up a wife, by having a co-wife that she has to compete with. If you have three wives, two wives alone is not advisable. So it's not usual eitzah, and nowadays also it's not an eitzah, but that was Rava's eitzah for somebody who had a bad wife. Is like it's difficult, like a difficult weather, like the rainy days, stormy weather. A disturbing leak. Like somebody's leaking in the house all the time. It's just the whole time it's dropping on his head. It's a constant nag, and on a rainy day, and a bickering wife are equal. The pasuk says that it's Ish's Medanim, Ish's bickering wife is like a troubling leak. Constantly, they say Sagir is rain or stormy, something like that. Come and see how good is a good wife and how bad is a bad wife. Because the pasuk says that's what the pasuk calls tov. Now, is the pasuk talking literally about a wife, or is it talking about? The Gemara say it might be talking about a mashal, it might be a parable for the Torah. And the Gemara says also that even if it's only a parable, it also shows how great a wife is, woman. So Kamatov Vishatova, how great is the good woman that the Torah praises her directly. And even if it's only a mashal for the Torah, also Kamatov Vishatova, if the Torah is you, if the mashal for Torah is the wife, So that shows how great a wife is. That's the mashal for Torah. And also the opposite, Kamar Isha, how bad is a bad wife? It says in the pasuk that she's worse than death. And again, you can talk about is it literal or not. If it's literal, so it's beferish. And even if it's not, it's going to be a mashal. It'll be a parable for something that we see how bad a wife is. A bad wife, a bad woman. If it's talking about a bad wife, so you see how bad that is. That pasuk says how bad she is, worse than death. This is that's the mashal of Gehenna. The one talks about it worse than death, but it really doesn't mean that. It really means Gehenna. But the mashal is a bad wife, so you see also how bad a bad wife is. The Gemara brings a couple of psukim that also the Gemara is going to say they're all referring to Isha V'Sam Ruba. We said before that it's such a thing as having a wife that really deserves to be divorced, but he can't afford to divorce her. So the Gemara is going to bring a couple of psukim that are referring to that situation, that he has a bad wife, but he can't afford to divorce her. The pasuk says, I'm reading an evil that you're not going to be able to get out of. You're not going to be able to wiggle out of it. This is the case. Evil wife, and she has a big suba, he can't afford to divorce her. That's the case. Of course, not the pasuk pshat, but that's the drash. Another pasuk. Hashem gave me in the hands of one that I cannot stand up against. Also, it's referring to such a case, he can't get out of it because he can't afford to divorce her. The Gemara goes further soon. Another pasuk, the Bain of Allah, he's saying soon, but first the Gemara interjects. The Marava Amru, Zeshem Zanosav Queen Bikasko. Another pshat, the pasuk over there about Nisanani Hashem B'dei Luchal Kum is a person that doesn't have his own sustenance. He has to come on to stores, other people to buy it. So that's kind of a situation that's very difficult. And a person who has that is called that he always dependent on people who are getting grain. The pasuk says also a side issue. It doesn't have to. That's why it's parentheses. It's another pshat in the pasuk of Nisanami Hashem. And the Gemara first said it's turning to each of us. And the Gemara says not a pshat. And now also another side point, not about another one. Not your sons and daughters are going to be given to a different nation. Of course, the pasuk pshat means they're going to be taken captivity to a foreign nation. But on the drash level, this is a stepmother that sometimes the kids suffer from the stepmother. Not always, but there's such a thing that a stepmother is not their children. So that it says that your sons and daughters are going to be given to a different nation. The pasuk continues with other psukim about Isha Rock, Sabasa Maruba, that he can't afford to divorce, even though he really should deserve to be divorced. He's saying, so we should rock, and I'm going to frustrate you by being married to such a woman. The Gemara, again, parentheses, this is once we mention the pasuk, we're going to bring in some side issues, and this side issue goes pretty long. I see what I had over here, that the parentheses is about 10 lines now. That's not going to be the subject about a wife. Stukim is really a censorship, it should really say mean, it means the Christians. The Christians is called the Goyin of Allah saying. The Christians, I'm going to make you frustrated in a Goyin of Allah. That's referring to the Christians. The Gemara bring a proof that the word novel is referring to these people, the Mina, because it says that the Mina say, "Ain't no king, there's no God." So it's referring to those nations. Other pshatim over there, who's the Goyin of Allah? The Masisa Tana, Elo Anshe Barbaria, Anshe Martenoi. This was a culture that they went naked, and the Gemara considers them very lowly, that they went naked in the streets. Hey, the people that calls them barbarians over here. We know barbarians are cruel people, but that's how we use it, the expression of barbarians. But it must have been some place over there, Barbaria, that they also had this culture. And also Martano, you don't know what that is, that they also would go naked, and that was their culture. Oh, there's nobody more abominable than the
It means like they dress today.
I don't think so. I think there are such. You're saying that they're close to it nowadays, some places, but I think that there was referring to a culture that did it literally. I think there are such cultures. such a culture.
Oh, yeah.
It says there's nothing more disgusting and abominable than it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Elu Chaborim. So there's a nation that's called Chaborim, not they translate Chabor, not Chaber, but Chaborim. And there was a nation that they had connection to them in those times, and the Gemara Bible says a story about them, and they are called the Goyim of Allah. He's saying to be under the jurisdiction of such a kind of people was very big curse. They told Rabbi Yochanan that the Chaborim arrived. They took over, and he was there. Rabbi Yochanan was in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan was in Eretz Yisrael. They told the news that Bavel came to this nation. They took over. Shaga Nafa. I'm not sure what Shaga means, but he fell. He fell off his chair from pain. Shaga Rashi is read that he coupled over and he fell from the bad news that in Bavel the Chaborim took over. But then he said, but they accept bribery. So then he sat up. Torres Yosef, then he sat up, he erected himself. If they accept bribery, there's still a chance. Some going, don't accept bribery, that's the problem. They say expression that a good guy, they said in Europe, the people during the Holocaust, that a good guy, if he accepted bribery, is okay. They didn't expect them to do things without the bribery, but if some didn't accept bribery, that's the real problem. So here, this nation, even though they were so evil, but they accepted bribery, so he said, okay, we'll be able to deal with them. And it said, they told the they made 3 decrees against the Jews. So he told them, I'm saying Rashi's shot, Rashi said, because there are 3 Averis, the reason why it was orchestrated that they should have power to make these 3 decrees is because the people, the Jews, they did 3 sins. They made a decree about meat, you can't have kosher meat. So he said that because people are not giving the presents they're supposed to give to the Kohen. That's why when a person slaughters an animal, he's supposed to give part of the meat to the Kohen. And they didn't do that. Because they didn't do that, this nation to make a decree against me. The second thing, they made a decree that they're not allowed to go to the bathhouses. The Jews can go to the bathhouses. The answer is because the Jews were not going to the mikvah enough. The women were not going to immerse from neither. So because of that, Hashem orchestrated and let this nation make a gzera against the bathhouses. And the third thing was that they're digging up the dead from the cemetery. They were digging up the dead. I guess whatever reason it was, in order to take off their clothing, whatever it was, whatever they can gain from it. So the answer with the nation because of the Zara and the Jews were partaking in the celebrations. So they're supposed to be mourning on that day, not to be celebrating. So Hashem says, if you do that, I'm going to give you a reason to mourn. And when the dead are dug up, so the people remember they're dead and they mourn over it. The pasuk says Hashem's hand is going to be in you, and against your forefathers. And the forefathers are already dead. So how is Hashem going to punish the forefathers? And the Gemara says, this means that the dead are going to be dug up. In the sin of the life, of the living, the dead are dug up. One pasuk says that the how bad it's going to be to die. They're not going to be gathered. They're not going to be buried. They're going to be like fertilizer on the ground. That means the people that die are going to be in such a situation. They're not going to be respected and buried. And then it says that it's going to be even more selected over life. People would rather die than to live. But the death also terrible. That even death they're going to be to dig up. To dig up is to call chotei. The Rush is talking about that it's better for the wicked to die. It's a Rush. It's better for the wicked to die because if they live, they sin, and then they go to Gehenna. So it's better for the wicked to die in this world in order that they should be able to live and sin, and then go to Gehenna. That's the pshat of from Movis Mechayim. That's the end of that parentheses, about 10 lines, and now we go back to the subject about a wife, and it brings something quoted from Sefer Ben Sira. Sefer Ben Sira, we have it nowadays. It's a book that's not part of the Tanakh. They talk about who the author might have been, and the Gemara brings it down. It's called Storm Chitzonim. It's in it and talks about it, if you're allowed to learn it or not. The Gemara says you could learn it and check out the wisdom, but not everything is considered wise over there. But the Gemara says the wise things over there you may learn. So it says in the book of Ben Sira, Isha Tova, these 3 words they take out, the Bach takes out these 3 words. Isha Tova Matana Tova, skip 3 words. A good wife is a good present. A good woman a good present, she will be given into the bosom of a God-fearing man. It means it's a big present to get a good wife, and a person who's a real king, Hashem will give him a matana tova. That's a good wife. But an evil wife, evil woman is like a plague, a tzaras, nega to her husband. You go sometimes it's fermented, and then he'll be healed from his nega. It continues. Many things it says now in Ben Sira, some of them are related, some of them are not. Isha Yafa Ashre Baba. A beautiful woman is fortunate is the husband that he has a beautiful wife. Mispah Yamav flying.
Because he brought something from Tzur Gemara thing, that's like that?
I think so. This one might still be related, but not much the subject. But the rest of it's going to be unrelated, just because it's in Ben Sira. Isha Yafa Ashre Baba. Mispah Yamav flying. A beautiful woman is a fortunate husband, and the days of his life will be doubled. Next point, but watch out somebody else's wife. Take your eyes away from a charming woman. It means not his own wife, somebody else. Stay away from a charming woman. Because you might get trapped and hurt. Don't go to her husband because she's right there. Key, the Torah. Isha Yafa, Rabim, Bushchasu. That were slain by her. This all is quoting. I only highlighted some of it, but this whole thing has been seen. Rabbi Mayu did say there are many that were the peddler would be going from house to house, and he had things to sell to the women. And a lot of times the rochel was not just a subject. The fact that he had opportunity to be with women is that, and he was the husband wasn't home, so the rochel, the peddler, was considered somebody that's suspect. So a lot of times the husband would find was not happy with, and he would beat him up. So Rabbi Mayu could say, rochel, there are many the wounds of the peddler. Those who, what's the word magilim, to make usual, to bring on arayos, illicit relationships, like a spark that starts a fire. Means that sometimes there's something initiates the relationship, and that's like a spark that makes a whole fire. Right. Then the next sentence is just like a cage full of birds, so too is their houses full of deceit. They're not talking about something else, not about different eitzes. That comes out unrelated subjects now. That people that are deceitful birds. I'm not sure which kind of birds.
They make it dirty.
Maybe whatever you want to say. I don't have a shot.
The
next one is don't worry about tomorrow's problems because it didn't come yet, and you don't know if it's going to come even. Don't worry about tomorrow's problems. If someone's a problem right now, we deal with the problem, but don't worry about tomorrow's problems. You don't know what the day is going to bring. He says even in an extreme case, maybe the person's not going to be around anymore. He's bothered by he's getting distress in a world that is not even his. Don't think about the future so much. You're not supposed to think about the future. Of course, think about the future as far as what you have to do right now. If it has ramifications, what you should do now, think about it. But if it's just using what's going to be in the future, don't waste your time. The law told to bring friends into your house. Don't bring big crowds into your house. Don't bring anybody into your house. There should be many people. Everybody should want your peace, but reveal your secret only to 1 in 1,000. It means even they have a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances, but don't trust them with your secrets. The secret is only for 1 in 1,000. That was more or less the parentheses.
So where does it start? Menna, wasn't it?
Hold back the multitudes, the many multitudes. Hold back the
sentences with the whole
like sukkim. Each one is a pasuk. If you take a Ben Siri, you probably will find the different verses, what's considered a verse. And the Gemara it started off because Isha Tova Matana Tova, and Isha Roa Sabas the Bible. But after that, they brought other psukim in Ben Siri. Maybe it's selective psukim, maybe it's in a row. I don't know. I didn't see the book. The Gemara continues more about having children, and we start here. Amri Abasi. We had this quote a couple of pages ago. that Mashiach is not going to come until all the neshamas that were created are going to come into the world. And it calls guf. Rashi says that guf is a chamber in heaven, something spiritual, and that chamber contains the neshamos. And Mashiach is not going to come until all the neshamos that were created from the beginning are going to come to the world. I don't get the exact Russia, but it says here something about the ruach, the what does it say? The neshamas that I made. But the word Yatov means about being late. I've got the Russia exactly, but this. Sometimes it means to be coupled over. That's sort of a wrap. But I think over here there was a drash here that the Mashiach is going to be delayed until the neshamas. Here I think the drash is going to be the ruach. The ruach of Mashiach is going to be delayed until all the neshamas that I made. Tanya Rav Elazar Omer, call me. The guf Rashi before said means, or Rashi someplace says there's a chamber in heaven that's called guf. We had it. We had what we spoke about a Yotze on Friday, maybe. If you're Yotze, I forgot how long ago it was. If the person had children, they died. It's Yotze proven. So we said that they got out of the neshama was born, but they didn't procreate. They didn't continue. So that's the question. That was yesterday's Gemara already. The Gemara continues. Tanya, Rabbi Elazar Omer, Komi Shein also prepare if a person doesn't engage in procreating, it's like he's killing. That's the person about murder. That if a person murders, he's supposed to be killed. But right away it says, he should multiply. The person doesn't multiply, it's as if he's killing. He doesn't bring more people into the world. But Yaakov Omer, he's minimizing the godly image. That means that man is a godly image, and if he doesn't bring children into the world, he's making less of God's image in the world. The same idea that it says in the pasuk before about murder. Over there it says that man is made in the form of God, and of course that God has no physical form, but whatever that means, we spoke about it once upon a time. But man is made in the form of God, and it says multiply, make more form of God. If you don't, so you're minimizing the form of God. But now say Omer Kilu Shafik Laman both we also both Rushes that both psukim say before, and if a person doesn't engage in reproducing and procreating, so it's like he killed, and it's like he minimized the. Don't do it yourself. Yes, no dorish, no makayim. Some people they say Rushes and they also fulfill it. No makayim and no dorish. Some people they also fulfill, but they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to make a nice speech, but they do it. But you're dashing and you don't do it. You say beautiful Russia, but you don't fulfill it. It means you don't practice what you preach. What can I do? It means I have no choice. That my desire for Torah is so great that I can't. I'm not able to. I don't have the ability to. There's one Gemara talks about if he didn't marry or he married and he divorced because he was constantly immersed in Torah. It's possible for the world to exist to other people. That's not my job. I can't do it. Tanya, either here it says also Eliezer. So same thing over again. 1 second. Okay, I don't know why it repeats it. It says the same thing. And Rabbi Eliezer says
a different midrash.
But it's the same person, saying everything. Let's see. Who said that before? Before we had Rabbi Yaakov, and here it says okay, that changes. Kilo might have most. And as they Omer, the same thing over again, and the Gemara doesn't print it because it's already quoted. Etc. So the same price, that's a different name of Rabbi ben Azariah instead of Rabbi Yaakov. Bottom line, Tanu Rabbanan. Let's talk about the pasuk when the Aaron would travel, when the Aaron would stop, what Moshe Rabbeinu would say, Israel. So the boys of the it's about having children. It says Rivavos of Jews, but Rivavos, literally, Rivava is 10,000, Rivavos is plural. Elef is 1,000, Alfei is plural. So the Gemara says plural of 10,000 and plural of 1,000 is going to be 22,000. That the Shekhinah, the Hashem's presence resides on not less than 22,000. How do you get that? Because a revava is 10,000 and plural is 2, so it's 20,000. And Aleph is 1,000, plural is 2, so 2,000, 22,000. So you have to have 22,000 Jews in order to have a certain amount of a certain kind of a shechina. You had 21,999. So you're missing one to get 22,000. A person could have had a child, he would have been the 22,000, and he didn't. So he's causing the shechina should not be. If he'd have a child, it would be 22,000, and by not having a child, it's missing. So that causes, it could cause in such a case that the shechina is not there. A person that doesn't engage in Ribya is liable to death penalty. So they're still going another Benaviyu. It says that they died, whatever sin it was, but they weren't saying it rash because it says they didn't have children, not because of a sin. That this was the reason why they died, because they had no sons. If they would have had sons, they wouldn't have died. Also, what I said before, so is causing that the Shekhinah should lead on Yisrael. Let's talk, I think, to Abraham, that Hashem said to be for you God and to your seed after you. This branch is Zaracha Acharecha Shora, ain't Zaracha Acharecha Yisrael. Yisrael is no Shekhinah. So it says to be for you God and for your seed after you. If there's seed after you, the Shekhinah is going to be Shora. But if not, who's the Shekhinah going to be Shora on? On the sticks and stones, on the Eitzim and Avanim. So you have to have Am Yisrael. So the person doesn't have, the more Am Yisrael there is more the Shekhinah on those people. The person doesn't produce, so he's not giving the Shekhinah a place to reside. That's the everybody. We'll be back with Pirkei Avos in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
That's the Thank you.